Hey, howdy, hey folks, it is Mrs. Johnson with the Agro Wisdom channel. We are doing FFA Lullabies. Still reading Cattle Country by Giles French, by Giles French. That I totally forgot to read before I needed to upload more videos this week. But Memorial Day is important, taking breaks is important, and this is currently just a hobby for me, so... And it's not like any of you watching right now in 2026 in May. So, this is for you guys later down the road. Anyway, what do we do? We just found out about the wife situation and how they got divorced, and about the legal stuff. The homestead legal stuff, because people were settling in places and the company wanted their land that they thought was theirs, but the settlers thought was theirs, other settlers, other homesteaders. So, anyway, interesting. We are on page 148. The battle continues in my book. And we're like 2 chapters from being done. So we'll start there. The battle continues. Despite the verdict, the lot of the settlers was far from a happy one. This was stock, not agricultural country, which meant that settlers had to raise cattle or sheep or horses, and it was doubtful if cattlemen would have put up with sheep or sheepmen in Harney County any longer than they did in Crook or Grant counties, where there was wholesale slaughter of sheep by cattlemen. To run cattle, settlers had to compete with big stockmen, of whom French was but one, and these established, often ruthless men did not relish competition. They had come to believe the grass was theirs by right of discovery. French did draw a more explosive type of settler at the mouth of the Blitzen than homesteaded on surveyed land in other parts of the county. And he was less violent than many other stockmen in protecting his grass. There are desert-watered holes in Harney County where more men have been killed in stockmen's quarrels than in all of Blitzen Valley. Peter French went to law. Though French permitted settlers to run their cattle on his land, he liked to have a man present when they took their cattle out. He did let them use his bulls, though the boss of P Ranch was not so philosophical as that of Henry Miller, who bought extra bulls for the small farmers surrounding his ranches. However, Miller was a butcher, and it made no difference to him whose cow produced the meat he sold. French had good bulls, short horns for years, but there is a record of him paying $1,100 to John Catlow for 2 Hereford bulls, which must have been a very high price at the end of the 19th century. The fact is that French was the scapegoat of the settlers, an individual on whom they could blame their troubles, an excuse for their bad luck and worse judgment. His defeat in the French Glen versus Springer case certainly elated most of them. Some even hoped to press on with further humiliation. That is the way people are, forgiving or vindictive. As for French himself, he had little to say. He was too busy to spend time on public relations. Peter French expressed himself in action. If he learned that a family was short on meat in the winter, he would send half a beef over to them. But more often the settler took care of that problem himself. French contributed to schools and supported the school near the sod house, for which he was almost the only landowner in the area. But he no longer met with the settlers, nor did he attend their social functions, their dances, or their spelling bees. Settlers worked for him at haying and ditching and draining, but his work was seasonal and his contact with the men sporadic. The French Glen Company made no movement to withdraw the suits against the settlers, other than Springer, and when it was learned that the case would be appealed to a higher court, resentment against French became stronger, dividing settlers into several groups. They all hated French but proposed different methods of retaliation. Some moved away, some merely talked and blustered, some stole more grass and cattle. The dangerous ones plotted violence, unwilling to trust the law. The group that met to plot the physical rather than the legal destruction of Peter French did not have the support of all the settlers, nor even a majority. But they spoke at every meeting and tried to inflame others. Gangs were organized to move at night, cutting French Glen fences, sometimes for miles, without leaving evidence that could lead to arrest. They mixed the cattle and caused such harassment that the big ranch expense account was raised beyond normal figures. Ed Oliver lived just east of the Rockford on a homestead. His trouble with French was different. He had petitioned for a road and felt that it had been denied by the county court through action by French. He had married a Simmons girl and was father of a growing family. Oliver was a very small man, no larger than Peter French. Owner of but a few head of stock, he helped his mother-in-law look after her herd. Ed Oliver was certain that all of his troubles stemmed from this big landowner for whom he had worked during haying for several summers. It must be said that the mental condition of Peter French was not one to engender calm. The French Glen Livestock Company had taken financial control of the ranch away from him. This gave the Glen heirs the right to countermand his orders. In addition to this, the price of cattle had dropped. The demands of the Glens for money hampered his management. The settlers were a constant nuisance. His wife had left him and married another man, and the boy who bore his name had visited him that summer was at the age of 14, spoiled and self-centered. Worst of all, he was reddish blonde with no physical resemblance to French himself. Though French was a man to keep his troubles to himself, he was no less bitter. The frustrations of the cattleman matched those of the settlers. They were bound to clash. Dun dun dun. That's the end of that chapter. And the next chapter is called Murder on the Sagebrush Flat, and I'm very excited about it. But I'm going to stop and let you go. Get some sleep. Take care of yourself. That's why the lights are dim. That's why I've already eaten. I'm getting ready for bed. I'm getting all cozy and things. Because I like reading before bed. And I like reading. And agriculture is the thing. So, like, subscribe, do the things. Come back for more. Those things are all linked. Okay, bye. Get some sleep. Take care of yourself. Because I know you're not doing that enough. Because neither am I. Okay? We're all in this together. Take care of yourself. Go to bed.